Alright, I do have a few things to show you this week. Kind of a eclectic mix, I might add. So let's get right to it. Now, last week I showed you this hat that I did on my Addi and was in the process of making a scarf, again on the king size Addi. And I ran into troubles, and I'm really not that pleased with the way this scarf turned out. There's mistakes in it, and I just do not like living with mistakes. Now, this is what happens when you don't take apart your stripes before you put them back on the machine. For example, last week I had to rip it out because I had made too many tuck stitch mistakes, and I left them tied together. But as you can see, my tension was different, and so it looks like my rows are all uneven. Ironically, it looks better on this side. But then on this one, I guess I got carried away and I just did too many yellow rows. See how that's thicker? And then, to top it all off, I had started with 10 rows over here, and I ended with 15. I don't know what I was thinking. And I suppose I could rip it out, and I may still do that, but if I do that, then what I'm going to do is gather my, well, either way, I'm going to gather my ends, I think, and put palms on the ends, and on this too, because I think since the stripes are not exact, then I need some more distraction going on. But that was supposed to be for Yolanda's kids, Yolanda Soto Lopez and the Mexican orphanages. So I will first see how it comes out, and if I can live with it, I'll send it on. But if not, it'll just go in my regular donation pile, I guess. So moving on. This is some practice work that I did on my flatbed knitting machine. And basically I was following videos trying to teach me to learn to do different techniques, and you know, it's not anything, but you can see where I was increasing and decreasing, and I really like it. I mean the machine, not the piece. But I have learned a lot about knitting in general by having this machine. Here it is, and do you see this, I don't know, it's a tension guide is what it is. It extends very high up through there. Trying to find a way for you to see it better. It looks like a grasshopper. It reminds me of a grasshopper. Like, that's the head, and then it has the antennas that travel up through here. And on this head, you can see the guide marks on it. That's how you adjust your tension. Well, not only there, but also on this little dial right here. They have to match. And the evenness of the tension in which it feeds to the machine makes all the difference in the world. Now the Addi machines don't have any kind of tension feeders. That's what your left hand is for. And by keeping it constant, you're going to get your really even stitches. Clearly I had problems doing that when I fed this yarn back through the machine a second time, because you can see that I overlapped a good bit from here to here the second time, and see even here to here. So in other words, I was doing it tighter the second time than I was the first time. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I wasn't aware at all that I was applying a different amount of tension. So I am going to practice on my Addi machines, try to get my hand in a certain position, to hold it really still each time, so that I can get a more exact control over my tension that goes into the machine. And again, that determines which yarn you can use. Remember, I could never use Red Heart in my machine until I finally learned the secret of applying tension, and I have to pull a little bit more. I have to create more tension as it's going into the machine in order to get Red Heart to work. So back to my knitting machine practice. This is a wool, and it was a little bit thinner, but I had it on the same tension setting. You could see more holes in it because it was a little thinner, but it still worked up absolutely perfectly. What I did here in the middle, if you can see this raised bump right here, those are actually purl stitches, and you do those manually on this machine. If you have a garter bar, you can alternate between your knitting and purling stitches or whatever. I don't have that luxury on this machine, so I have to do it manually with a latch hook. And basically what you're doing is crocheting. You are just pulling one loop through another when you do that. But you use this tool, which is actually a mimic of a needle. And this little latch right here has given me more fits. Technically, it should be the exact same as crochet, but this little guy gets in your way. You have to remember to pull your yarn over the hook so that it's caught, and then the next one can slip over it. Whereas with crochet, you just have your hook and there's nothing in the way, and you just kind of, you just add another thought process to the latch hook. But I do see why it's beneficial, and so I'm going to teach myself to use this thing better. I'm getting better at it, but I kept cheating every now and then using my crochet hook. But it's risky. The latch hook, once you learn to use it, is a little bit safer. This is like a safety latch. At least that's what Phil called it. And then I've been knitting. Yes, Margaret Olander has gotten out the knitting needles, and I have been knitting. Now I'm using cotton and bamboo needles. These are those kind you can get, I think they're clover, that you get from, they're clover. If you can see, I don't think you can see that. You can just get them at Michael's. Had intended to use my nickel-plated ones that Bruno and Aaron had suggested that I use a long time ago, and I did buy them, but I couldn't find them when I got ready to get started, but I've since located them, so I'm excited. However, I need to tell you that I really liked, for a beginner, the combination of the cotton and the bamboo or wood. I'm assuming that's bamboo, I don't even know. Because it slows the process down, and it really helped me to see what was going on. And also, look at this. When it comes out, your cotton is not likely to slide. It doesn't slide easily. So there were times when I dropped my left needle altogether. I did that a lot, as a matter of fact, when I was first getting started. But it was very easy to remedy because the stitches seemed to sort of hold their shape, and you could just slip it back in. So if you're just beginning, I do suggest the cotton and the bamboo. Now this is the progression of how I did. First of all, we have this one. I wish this lighting was better in here, but I need the space. Okay, first we had this one. And I'm talking, we were full of mistakes. I really was a little frustrated. I mean, actually, this is the first project I ever completed. It is from a video called Learn to Knit a Dishcloth by Very Pink Knits. And, well, it wasn't exactly increase. You start from this end, from the bottom, and you increase up, and then you decrease back. But it's not a true increase. All you're doing to make these little holes right here is yarning over. So I don't know how you really increase. I hadn't gotten there yet. Then when you get to this point, you knit one, then you knit two together, then you yarn over, and you knit two together again, and you end up decreasing again. So as you can see, this is just filled with errors. I mean, there were times when I completely forgot about the yarn over, and especially in here. Knitting two together was hard for me because I was very tight knitter, and I'm still working on that. So I couldn't get the right needle into the stitch very easily, and I was just frustrated and I kept dropping it. But regardless, I got something done, and here it is. And then we'll move to this one. It's still attached because I'm not going to waste this yarn. I'm going to rip it out and start again. I'll probably keep this one to remember where I came from. But here's the second one I did, and you can see improvement. A little bit of improvement, not a lot, but it's there. And I at least was beginning to become more comfortable. I was just an awkward mess doing this. So I was becoming a little bit more comfortable here. And then I finished this one just this morning. And actually, there's only two mistakes in here. There's one right here. I don't know. There's one right there. And then I messed up a yarn over right in here somewhere. But, and of course my tension is tight, loose as I'm trying to figure it out. I noticed that if I will relax, literally my body relax, I can get a looser stitch. I can get a more adequate stitch. So I thought that was kind of interesting. All the yarn I used was Lily's Sugar and Cream. If you're interested in the colorway, this one has a lot of camouflage look to it. So if you need a cotton with the camouflage colors, this one is called Wooded Moss. This one ironically is called Hot Purple when it's really a light lilac, but it's called Hot Purple. And I don't know the name of this one. I've had this one so long. As a matter of fact, it was the very first round crochet work I ever did. And here's a sample of that. And I use this to this day because one of my favorite teapots, which is this cast iron teapot, naturally, as you would assume, gets very hot on the top. So I put that right there, and so I can pour my tea and take the basket out so I don't end up with some really stout brew. But yeah, I use this. But I've had this forever, and this was the only thing I had used out of this whole skein, but I don't know the name of it. I didn't have good sense back then to save my labels. I almost forgot to show you this. I finished this sock yarn hat made from the Peyton's stretch sock yarn in fruit slices. Really like the way it came out. Actually, it's a little big because I didn't have my tape measure with me when I was working on the crown, and so I downloaded an app that was supposed to be a ruler, and apparently it's not exactly accurate, but it's okay. I mean, it's not that far off, but it's just a little bit bigger than I had intended. But I really love the colors, and I like the way it worked out, and I am a huge fan of sock yarn hats. So my goal for this week is to finish up that scarf, and I'll decide whether or not it's going to go to Yolanda's Mexican orphanages or what. And to practice on my flatbed. I haven't had enough time set aside to put on that. I got busy doing the hand knitting because I really needed to sit down and do something quiet all at one time, and this involves me coming upstairs, and sometimes I'm standing up and sitting down and looking at this. It just takes more effort to learn to work my machine, so I really need to put some time aside for that because it just calls my name every time I walk past. I love that thing. And of course, I've got my Addi and my beloved crochet hooks, so there's only so many hours in a day. So anyway, you know how that is. See you soon. Bye.